Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Creation Podcast, where we discuss the challenges in our world and how we can create a more harmony between ourselves as a society and in living with nature. I'm your host, Mana Markov Gray, and today I have Simone with me. Welcome, Simone.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Let me just fix that. Yeah, it's better. So, I'm gonna give you a moment for you to introduce yourself. So, who is Simone and what does Simone do?
Thank you so much. So I go by, most people know me by Simone Johnson, right? My maiden name, and I got married, and my name got attached onto another name, which is Johnson-Smith. So Simone
Right.
W Johnson-Smith is who I'm known these days on social media, online. And I'm host of the podcast called The Immigrant Experience in America, where we amplify and humanize experiences of immigrants living around the world. And so that's where our project began about 3 years ago. We now have about 180 plus episodes of stories of immigrants
Wow.
talking about their adjustment challenges. And I recently published my book called Decoding America, basically talking about what life is like moving from your homeland and adjusting to a country in the Western world like the United States of America,
Yeah.
and a few other things. So podcaster, author, and a few other things. I'll just keep it short right now. I'll give you
Yeah.
more details for the show notes.
Yeah, that's okay. So, what brought you to doing this work? At what point did you think this is what I want to do?
Well, this was born out of my personal experience moving from Jamaica legally to the U.S. and so many experiences of good and mixed and bad, and trying to make sense of my life, moving from the place where I felt like, in the embrace of love and acceptance and belonging, and I knew the culture because that's what I was born in. I
Right.
moved and flowed within it with ease. And then living in the US, just constantly being confused. What are these not dialects, but like ways that people communicate, nonverbal communication, the work world, and the
Yeah.
cultural spaces that exist in these different workplace spaces. And I just realized I was experiencing culture shock, and just constantly changing. My work had me moving overseas and working in different places, and so I realized I wasn't adjusting well. And
Yeah.
so I started researching and getting some coaching, and then here came upon the idea of the podcast, to interview other immigrants about their journey. And through that, I have learned so much about myself. And here we are today with the project expanding even further.
And how has it been in terms of these stories? If you want to share like common threads or anything like that people are experiencing when they move to the U.S. Then in this case specifically.
Sure, sure. So, some common threads that come up throughout the interviews is the fact that people leave their countries for varying reasons, right? It's not because they want to study. You'll hear studying abroad is a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Lots of international students go away to study, not only the US, but in Europe and Asia and other places, right? In the Caribbean, even. So whether they're joining family who's already living abroad, or they've been forced to leave their home country for natural reasons such as natural disaster, civil war, civil unrest, for a varying number of reasons, right? And so I get the different angles for why people have arrived in the US, or I've interviewed people from in the UK and other places as well. And so
Yeah.
some other threads include people who don't speak English and have had to learn English from scratch, and how difficult that can be coming from, say, Russian
Yeah.
or an African language or any other language, right? That where they just didn't speak English coming into the U.S. or had very minimal English. So
Yeah.
language barriers and overcoming those, and then the other adjustment challenges include like just losing yourself, feeling like you no longer fit in, you don't quite understand the new country, you're still learning. And so you don't quite fit in there, and it's just the learning curve just is up, sometimes feel very unending, right? For some people, you're
Yeah.
just constantly learning. You're learning your job, you're learning school, you're studying the language. It's a lot. It could be a lot for people, and the study
Yeah.
says that people go from mild depression to fatal self-harm. It can be very serious, and so
Yeah.
some other threads, right? Just different challenges that people are having, and then the amazing success that people get to when they embrace the journey, they learn this whole immigrant mentality. And I mean, I've heard some amazing stories of what people have been able to do with their lives coming from some dark places, right? And so it's very uplifting for me, I think.
Yeah.
And I think other people listening find so much strength and inspiration in hearing other people's journeys.
Yeah, and I think it's important work that you're doing to share these stories because I think especially now that we're seeing a lot of anti-immigration sentiments, which I think were always kind of there in some numbers, but it seems to be amplified now. I think it's not only in the US, but the experience I've had is like with the Netherlands. I was there where we had an influx of like Syrian refugees, and there was also very negative reactions to it, well, from the people living there, and from the adjustment also for them. Some people really kind of thrived and really found spaces that they felt comfortable in, and some people really struggled. Like when you said about serious self-harm, that I experienced that one of the refugees that I became friends or people that are that became refugees that came into the Netherlands, that they started calling them newcomers. One of these newcomers, he was really struggling, and he committed suicide. So you do see these cases as well of like that's, for me, that's like the ultimate harm that you can do to yourself, take your own life in that way. So I do think it's serious to kind of give this space of talking what is that experience. It's important for those people coming into the new country to feel like they're not alone in their experience, and being able to share that and maybe exchange ideas on how to handle things. But I think it's also important for the people that are already living there to hear these stories and struggles. And of course, not everyone will have empathy, but it might get more people to be maybe accepting of people's journeys and why they're there, and various reasons that people might decide to move away from their countries. And sometimes it's not even really a decision that you have. Like if you're really facing natural disasters or war or something, you really have to, you have no choice but to leave and go somewhere. So I was curious how that these stories are received by people like that are from the US or that were born there, or do you have those people also in your audience?
Sure. I think it's mixed. For the most part, it has been tremendously positive, I would say. And perhaps it's the immigrants who are coming across the podcast who are loving it and say, oh my gosh, thank you for holding space for us.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling our story. Finally, somebody is listening and asking the questions. How are you doing? How have you been doing since you left your home country? Because a lot of times they live in the shadows, like they
Yeah.
hide. Even coming in legally, you're legally here, you go to the embassy, you do your interview, you go through all that process of getting medical and all the requirements, and you're cleared, and you come in and you're legally working and attending school. But still, people feel like they cannot be their authentic selves. Like they can't show up truly as they are. They have to adapt, which is this is understandable. You're living in a
Yeah.
new country. If they speak English, you need to learn to speak English as well, so you can communicate and adapt some of the cultural ways of being. But I think a lot of times people just don't. They feel very stifled, and just feel like they're in the shadows, in the dark, and that they have to hide who they truly are. For whatever
Yeah.
reasons, maybe religious, politically, or otherwise, right? And so people are really grateful that this space exists and to listen to other people's journeys and to be inspired by it. But I also come across people who kind of give me mixed feelings as well. Like, it's interesting that the moment they hear the word immigrant, they assume such a negative connotation with the word. And yet, most countries have an immigration policy where they welcome people in, and no less so the United States, right? I'm
Yeah.
one of millions of people who have entered the country illegally. And so, how then do you balance the fact that and own your journey? Like, yes, you said that my skills are wanted in your country, my educational prowess is wanted in your country, and I arrive and then I'm faced with all this kind of mix. I call it the love-hate thing. Like, there's a group of people
Yeah.
who love immigrants and our food, our dialects, our language, the way our culture and all of that. And then there's other people who are kind of in the middle. They love you, but then they're like afraid of you because they feel like you're coming to take their jobs, or some
Yeah.
space that have that they feel like you're coming to take from them. So, I for the overwhelming portion of it, I find that it's very positive, but sometimes I come across like people with mixed emotions, and I can understand, because I think globally there is a conversation around, for example, there's the case of, I'm originally from Jamaica, and I've heard somebody educate me recently about the same situations where in Jamaica there are people who are educated on the island and educated to fill certain work employment positions, but yet they bring in people from overseas to fill like leadership or certain types of positions.
Yeah.
And so there they feel like foreigners or immigrants are coming in to take their jobs. So it's the same sentiment, and I think it exists in a lot of other countries as well. And so I try to be pretty open-minded to the idea that it's just part of our human experience as we move across the globe. However, there's the need for diversity in skills, diversity in employment, diversity in so many things. And I'm here legally, and I'm going to stand in that truth and embrace the person I've become since I've been here for over 2 decades.
Yeah.
And, and encourage others to do the same.
Yeah, I think that's a good mindset to have, right? To be able to stand in that truth. And oh shit, I forgot my question. Sorry. Let's see. I'm half of what we're talking about is I have 2 podcasts, and half of what we're talking about is kind of like it could be on the other podcast as well. So I'm watching like how I'm asking you the questions so that they're relevant also for this podcast.
Okay.
Let's see.
To tell me about,
see
I was
your-
Googling. I was going to say, tell me about the meaning of manarak, of gray, because I was
Yeah.
Googling the meaning of it and I was Googling Creshon podcast and I was like,
Yeah.
which one is it? Is it manarak of gray or is it Creshon podcast?
I
Are they
am
two
on a rock
separate
of gray.
brands?
No, well, in terms of branding, maybe, but it's Mana of Gray is my artist name, and it's also become the brand name of like I have a publishing, and also my media, like the actual production of the media. So everything kind of creative and artistic goes under Mana of Gray. And so, yeah, there's basically at this point three Monarch of Grey. You have Monarch of Grey, the artist. You have Monarch of Grey, my company. And you have Monarch of Grey, the publishing and media.
Okay.
And the Creación is my initiative, is my educational initiative that and so what I studied is international development management, and I'm very passionate about like sustainability and living more sustainably. And when I look at the question of how can we live more sustainably, I cannot possibly facilitate that the whole process globally by myself. It's just on my island, I can't do it by myself. So that's where Creación was born. Creación in my language, Papiamento, means creation. And it's like a play on co-creation of new ways of living with the like nature and the planet and the environment, but also new ways of living with each other. And that is more what this particular podcast is about. It's like partly educational, showing what change makers in the world are already doing as a way for potential future change makers or even current change makers can learn from each other. What are we doing? And the topics we've talked about climate change, about like over tourism in Aruba, about like holistic development work. I recently had one about composting. Well, it's more waste management, right? The waste of food and how we can compost that. And also like freeze in for maybe homeless people and these things. So those are like a kind of the topics. And then my other podcast is Poison Honey Podcast, and that was actually my first podcast. And Poison Honey is more about personal development, and there I've talked about like toxic relationships, anxiety. Someone talked about abortion and setting boundaries, like that kind of thing. So that's where I was like, this is like half Poison Honey Podcast is something's like about growth, and it's also about like global kind of challenges, because you have that part about just the political side of immigration, and I took a long route. I didn't actually answer your actual question, what is Monarch of Gray. So the meaning of it, my legal name is Radinka Anna Marie, and I was going down a very deep rabbit hole of like the conspiracy theories. There's a conspiracy theory about the government owning your name, and so I felt very disempowered, with that idea of like the government owning my name. And I always had something around my name also to not I'm not gonna go into that. But I looked at my name, and there's a lot of A's in my name. So Ra, Ka, An, and Ma. So I just took everything that's an A with whatever letter was adjacent to it. So RAKAANMA. And I rearranged it. So it's actually my whole name compact. But there's a second meaning that in Dutch, man means moon. And I'm fascinated by the moon, and yeah, just like also astrology and those things. So I saw an opportunity to make my name start with moon. So yeah, man, and then Arak is just random, and of gray because I try, at least, I suppose that would be my personal philosophy of not looking at things like black or white. I'm fascinated in like trying to find that middle truth, so to say, because it's not always one or the other, or it's seldom one or the other. There's always like some middle truth, and that's where the of gray came as like the addition to Manarak, and that's how it was born from that conspiracy theory part of my life. And it was sitting there, and after I finished studying international development management, I always wanted to be an artist, and I had a moment where finally I could decide, or it felt like I can finally decide for myself. It was always there, but you feel like society, your family, and everybody's trying to decide something for you. People told me, well, you can't be an artist because you're not gonna you can't make any money with that and these things. So I finally had a moment where I thought, I can decide for myself, and I want to be an artist. I am an artist. And then I had this name sitting, and I thought, well, that's perfect. That's going to be my artist name. So that's like the backstory to that. Long story short.
Oh, but thank you for the explanation, because I saw Something Honey. What is the other podcast? Something Honey?
Poison Honey podcast.
Yes, I saw that, but I didn't know that was related to you. I was confused when I Googled. I saw Cresson, and I saw Poison Honey, and then I saw Manor of Grey, and they were saying that something about an artist with Gucci. Is that you?
Gucci?
Good. Someone came out with a song with the name Cresson.
No, that's not me. I know which one you mean. No, but
Okay,
it's I think it's written differently. I think it's like KRESH, something like that. Like yeah. But I know what you mean. It's an old song. Yeah.
Okay, well, wherever you would like to share, and I'll let you make that decision. But it sounds like you're doing great work.
Yeah, so I moved back home. I'm just fixing my camera again. I moved back home about a year ago, and I decided to go really for my business, and I'm mixing my passion for art and my studies of international development management and what I call the art of holistic development work. So it involves all of these different aspects of personal growth. I think is important for sustainability, but also, working together and creating together. So that's maybe the confusion of all these different components of it. Okay, let me think. I'm reading your thing that you sent.
Okay. Right. So, I guess while you're looking at that, just for people who are listening, I did talk about some coaching and courses that I offer to help high achieving immigrants And I know you said not to go into the promotion, but I guess it's hard not to, because that's really like the podcast and
Yeah.
the book and the courses is really what I'm offering to, as my kind of innovative way to handle and adjust to the whole immigrant experience. So I was thinking, how will I present this without talking about the book?
Yeah, yeah. It's not that you can't talk about it. What I have is that sometimes some people, all they want to talk about is that, and I want to have like a conversation with the person. But of course, you can present it. Yeah,
Okay, sure. Okay,
yeah,
so yeah, as you're looking at that, I was just gonna say the course and coaching really is geared towards really working with people who are seriously struggling, like that person you mentioned. I wish they had gotten some support, some mental health support.
yeah,
Um, and so each one teach one, each one lead one, each one support one, right? And there's so much strength in community. And I think when we move to individualistic cultures, we tend to just become these kind of people who are just off in our little worlds, in our little corners. And we
yeah,
lose we lose the sense of community that we bring from other collectivist cultures, such as from the Caribbean and other places outside of the West, right?
yeah.
Because after a while, work becomes the number one priority, and sometimes you don't even have time to spend with family and friends and and maintain community. And so I'm trying to build that community to help people find each other, support each other, to help you to decode the workplace and how to prepare yourself, and help soften the way that you enter and how you experience it. It could be very harsh for some people. It was for me, because I didn't know what I was looking at. It took years for me to fully understand some of the experiences that I was going through, like the microaggressions, the discrimination, the whole racial issue that I wasn't raised with. It's a
Yeah.
whole new set of language and words that I don't even understand what they mean. And there's so many nuances that come with those words that I had to learn. It was like a whole new like set of words and explanations. Now I have the language to really help people understand what they're feeling. They might be depressed, and it's not because they lost somebody or something tragic or something else. It could be that you're misaligned with your career, for example, because the immigrant mentality is that you need to be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are forced into those careers when they actually don't match, and they're not really aligned with them personally, with their values, with who they are, or with their purpose here on the earth. And so sometimes that depression comes out of misalignment with what you are in fact supposed to be doing wherever you find yourself in the world. And so and the culture shock causes depression as well. You might
Yeah.
not feel like yourself again. You are in a new place and you're constantly changing, dealing with new people. And over time, that takes a toll on you. And you need the support to figure out, like, what's going on with me? How do I get back to feeling like my confident person when I left my country and was in my community? Like, what happened to me? And so I'm here to really kind of build that community and support for those people who are really struggling before it gets to be the sad, story that you just shared earlier.
Yeah. And so we can talk about community building, maybe. That's an interesting angle for creation. Um, and so, if I understand correctly, are you building the community outside of like the podcast as well? Is there any like activities that you would do where you live, for example?
So I've started just very locally where I am, right? Excuse me, I'm in the state of Georgia, in the southern part of the U.S., Atlanta metro area. I shouldn't probably be saying that too much because I really don't want
No,
anybody
I
to
can.
come after me
It's
because,
okay. I can cut it out.
but I'm in the southern part of the U.S. Let's keep it very
Yes.
broad, and
Yes.
really trying to bring people who are from other places together. I started WhatsApp groups. I'm trying to have game nights. I'm trying to have getting children of immigrant parents to hang out together because they're third culture children. They're experiencing the world completely different from their peers who were just born here in the U.S., for example.
Yeah.
And so I'm building just very grassroots level. I've started, but online. I have a YouTube channel that I've been building out. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok as well. So I'm trying to build that community there and trying to figure out like what's one space that I can bring everybody together online. I'm still trying to figure that out. It could be an app for people to find each other globally. It could be some other application, like there's a school community or Facebook or something like that. I'm still trying to figure out how to bring people from all these different platforms in one space so they can interact and support each other.
Yeah, and I think that's it can be challenging, I think, because online everyone is using like different social media channels, and it might be challenging to get everybody on one platform. Have you considered like making your own platform? I don't know if that
That's
will be better,
interesting.
but just an idea that
Well,
popped in.
right. So that's where the idea of the app comes in, right? Then I build my own app for this.
Yeah.
And so that would be kind of like my own organic space for people to join, download the app on your phone, and you can just get access to everything we offer. So that would
Yeah.
be the idea. If there are others out there, I welcome them. I'm still trying to build and figure this out. I took last year writing, published over Christmas, and right in the middle of doing my course right now and offering coaching sessions while I still work, and I'm a mom and a
Yeah.
wife. So, my plate is
Busy.
full. Yes.
But do you then have, are you doing the work alone, or do you have people helping you?
Well, my husband has been by my side doing my podcast editing from the start. And at one point, we hired a virtual assistant who was doing some of the editing, but that was coming out of our own finances. We did the podcast for free for 3 years. After so many interviews, we just, hey, we can't, this needs to at some point start supporting itself financially, because
Right.
we have publicists, people with books and businesses wanting to come on the podcast, and they're benefiting because we're paying for editing, we're paying for promotional activities. At one point, we were on an international radio station. So we have to come out of our own finances, plus our time and efforts that are going in. So, my husband has been my strong support. And I recently, after maybe a year and a half of a hiatus, trying to do it ourselves, decided I definitely need the help. And I hired another virtual assistant to help me organize and get all of this together, because it's growing. It's grown from the moment we started 3 years ago. So, but I always put the word out to people who are listening, who are out there. If you're passionate really about finding other people like you who are in different countries around the world, who are struggling to build community, to find belonging that you had when you were back home. Some people are going through what we call cultural homelessness, where after a decade or two of living abroad, you've obviously changed, right?
Yeah.
Because you've changed, adapted to the new country. You have to. That's how you're going to survive and thrive. And so you've changed, and you're no longer like the birth country, but you're not really fully like the native country that you moved to either. So you're in the middle. You're like a
I'm one.
hybrid of these two countries. Yeah. So you're what we call a third culture person, or a third culture kid. And so you're a hybrid of these two worlds, or you could be like more than two. Right? Because there's some people who come from multiple cultures as well. And so if you're passionate about this work, I welcome you. Reach out to us. We could use as many hands as we can. We have a Spotify, not a Spotify. We have a a YouTube channel that is connected to a Patreon that we're trying to get people to offer support to us to kind of offset the cost that goes with doing this. There's
Yeah.
different levels of contributing as low as like $5 and so forth. So we're really trying to build the support. These things take time, especially when you're still working full time and doing this on your free time. So it's been
Right.
3 years and we've made a lot of progress. Kudos and thanks to my husband for standing behind me through all of the challenges and figuring it out and not knowing what was the next thing to do when we first started. And so
Yeah.
if you're hearing this and you want to join in and give us some support, I'll share all my contact with my friend here who can get that over to you.
Yeah, I think it's you mentioned an important point, which is if you want to build community, you really need help because it is a lot of work. And I think another thing is also the cost. There's a lot of time I find when we're talking about community building, it's seen as something that one should do for charity, right? Like it's sometimes, maybe a lot of times expected that it's done like for free. But you cannot keep just using your own money like that when you are offering a service to people, and you are inputting a lot of time. And I don't know if you run ads, but things like ads, your virtual assistants needs to be paid. So I think it's kind of invisible, and we should talk about like in a sense the hidden costs of hidden to the people outside of the work of doing like community building. And that's something that I think about myself. Like I struggled. Obviously, the work that I do is partly social, and I really struggled. Okay, what legal structure am I gonna go with? And because the natural or the maybe expected legal structure would be like a nonprofit, because people think, oh, but what you're doing is social, so it's charity work. And I think that part of that mindset is why social kind of or more socially tinted work is underfunded, because people have this idea that everything should be done for free, or it should be done within nonprofit legal structure or something like this. So yeah, I think it's a good idea that you are doing it with like Patreon and these things, even though you didn't. It's now that you're starting to do it, but I think it's good that you took that step to do it via Patreon. And how is that going?
Not a lot of visibility because, of course, we need more hands, right?
Yeah.
We need more hands to do this consistently, to find where these people are, and to get the word out. We can only do so much. Myself, after I would have been at work until 2:30 today, and then I would have gotten home at 3 and then jump on this interview with you at 4 o'clock. But I had some doctor's appointments, so I ended up taking the day off. So, and plus, I have a 6-year-old. She just finished school yesterday, so we had to like be at home with her today. So our lives still go on. So we need to eat just the same. And this has grown so much where it feels now like a full-time job. It really does feel like a full-time job. And so the amount of time and effort and mental space of planning and organizing all of the details that goes along with the podcast and the book and the coaching and the courses, building our website, there's a lot of finances that go into building a small business. And so those are a lot of the hidden costs. I think I need to get someone into that Patreon account and make sure that everything is set up properly, and trying to figure out how do we market it to people who might even consider supporting and helping us offset the cost that goes along with giving people visibility when they write a book and tell their story, or if they're starting a coaching business or other service oriented, whatever business, and they want to come on because they have that immigrant hyphenated affiliation. We're here for you. However, we also have to eat. And we
Right.
have a family
Yeah.
as well. So,
Yeah.
at some point I just had to say no. That we have to file taxes, and at some point they're going to think this is a hobby, but it really isn't. I'd love to be able to do this full time, because I did not know how much of a passion of mine that it was, but after talking to people and seeing it flow out of me, wow, it captures me, it pulls me out of bed, it motivates me to come up with new ideas of how to reach people. And so
Yeah.
at some point we have to start looking at the financial part of it in order for it to be sustainable, right? So, because even nonprofits need money to pay their staff. They need money to run and take care of administrative and overhead and things like that. So for people to think that it doesn't take finances to get this stuff done in the world, I'm not sure where they are, but everything requires some sort of a financial underpinning in order
Yeah.
for it to keep going and to be maintained. Because if you have to travel to anywhere, if you're doing it from your home, you still have bills to pay, utilities, rent, or a
The
mortgage.
internet, the lights,
Exactly.
yeah.
You need to eat, you need to buy food. The opportunity cost, if you're putting more time into this versus working a full-time job, those are the realities. And so we had to make the switch in 2025 to now charging for some sessions, so we're able to pay the virtual assistant and offset the promotional charges of paying for, like, Riverside. We have to pay for Riverside. We're
Yeah.
paying for what else are we paying for? Opus clips to cut up our interviews, or to video clips to post them online. We're paying for Calendly to book appointments. We're paying for so many other things. Like, it ends up, it
Yeah.
adds up over time, right?
Yeah, definitely. And so I'm thinking, what else would you like to share about your work?
Just maybe a point of recognition. If you're hearing this story, I see you, I hear you, right? I mean, I can't physically see you right now wherever you are in the world, but listen, we recognize how challenging it is to leave your home. And there's a lot of mixed emotions, because there's excitement for what you see on TV that you're going to be immersed in. But the
Yeah.
reality is, once you're on the ground, you're faced with challenges with, and I've listed a lot of them: the cultural loss of cultural self, the cultural homelessness, where you no longer fit into your birth or your adopted country, and you're in the in between, and you're like, how do I find belonging? Who are these people that I am just with, and I can just relax and be myself and not feel like I have to keep code switching from one version of myself to another just to be able to build rapport with people. The accent bias, the discrimination, the learning racism, the list goes on, and the
Yeah.
finding work, and how do you operate in the different workplaces, and operating by monochromatic time versus polychromatic time, right? Where you're expected to just be focused on work, 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 work.
Yeah.
Versus from collectivist communities, it's more so about community and relationships, and work is not the number one priority. It's much more of a balance about living. And so I'd love to hear your story wherever you are. Reach out to us if you'd like to share your story with our audience. I do have a space for free interviews for certain types of interviews, right?
Okay.
And then for people who want to use a platform for marketing purposes and they have a budget, then those are the people who get charged. But if you're somebody out there who have just a very compelling story of how you've overcome challenges moving abroad, we want to hear it. We want to share your story with the world. We want to provide the space for you to feel heard, to feel seen. Because a lot, I tell you, when we first started, I would spend 2 hours or more just listening to some people. And they say it
Yeah.
feels like therapy for somebody to actually sit and say, oh my gosh, like this is what I went through when I had to be forced out of my country and I had to move to this country and I was in the middle of this civil war and now I arrive in this new country and I have to start all over with my family and figure out this place. And so it can be therapeutic for some people just to finally tell the story of what that was like for you. And so
Yeah.
that's why we exist. That's why we exist. We're here for you, and we want to validate your experience. We don't want you to continue living in the dark, in the shadows, like you're a nobody. You're a human being just like everybody else. And so we're holding space for you. So we'd love to hear your story or whatever you'd like to share with us or the support that you need. We're here to provide that as well.
Yes, thank you. And sorry. My Yeah, so I think there's some interesting concept that you mentioned that I'll definitely be exploring later on, like the idea of cultural homelessness. It's the first time I hear the term, but I really recognize myself in that because I had sometimes even before I moved away, like I was already interested in different cultures and you start adapting it, and then you start changing from the people here that are like on only within that culture that we grew up in. And yeah, I think it's important to hold space for that and give attention to that as well, because a lot of people don't realize like the difficulties that people go through as immigrants. And I used to say, like, when I was in the Netherlands, I would be missing home, and when I was home, I would miss the Netherlands. So, you know, it can become difficult to really find a place where you feel at home and welcomed, and just like that these are my people that understand me. Just that it's important. I think it's an important step in, especially I think that these particular times that we're living in, we're going to see more and more people having to immigrate to other countries. We're already seeing like certain effects from climate change in the South that it's making people become refugees and therefore having to immigrate into other countries. War is also, I don't want to say on the rise, but there are more wars coming up, or conflicts.
Yes, conflict, civil unrest.
Right, that are also creating refugees, and people are immigrating to other countries. Right, for me, it's difficult to see like what's happening in the U.S. that a lot of immigrants are then being put into jail as if they are criminals. And just the lack of understanding from one human to another about what it takes to leave your country, and then not really feeling at home in the new place, and not feeling like you can return to your country, even if it was like safe and you can return, but you're like this new person, and yeah, now there's a name for it. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story and the work that you do. I'm sorry if there was any confusion um, about not sharing it. Yeah, we do talk about the work, but yeah, it's just I try to avoid it being like promotional heavy. Like you have some people that are like, buy my book, like that kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Of course, you can say like, I have this book, and I think it is for refugees. You want to tell a bit more about it before you go? Decoding America.
So right, and coming home to yourself, the immigrant experience. So I tell my personal journey of going through like losing myself, like really not really knowing who I was from, I was in Jamaica for like a certain time, and I was grounded in that person. And then when I arrived here, over time of changing and kind of, trying to figure out like, what is this new place and how do I fit in it, and the labels that people want to put on you, like you have this skin tone, so this is what you are and this is what you represent. I really lost myself, and I was going through some level of depression, I want to say, because I didn't understand the impact of the culture shock, that because of the new world I was in. And so I talk about like my journey here, my family's journey coming to the US. I talk about like snippets of some of the people that I've interviewed and their encouraging words to immigrants as they leave their home countries. And I encourage people to embrace their superpower, because I really think it's a superpower. When you move from one culture and you go into another culture and you become part of that new culture, and you're hybrid of these two, there's not a lot of people who can be bridge people like you can. You understand both worlds, and you can flow seamlessly at times between both, and you can build bridges and understanding between these multiple worlds. And so I really encourage people to embrace that superpower and to come home, to recognize your heritage, recognize where you're from. Some people choose to completely assimilate to the country that they go to. They learn the language, and when you see them in a few years, you can't even recognize them as being born in this other country.
Right.
They've completely changed. And I understand some people do it because they just want to fit in. They want to be accepted. They don't want to be stigmatized for, if they come from certain countries, right? And so they just really want to fit in, not to have to deal with all that animosity. And I get that. But, for me, this is where my journey has taken me. I'm coming home to accept where I'm from, embracing it, speaking exactly how I sound, whatever accent or no accent or a mixture of whatever I sound like today. I'm embracing that, because listen, until you embrace yourself, nobody is going to embrace you. You will always be caught in this no man's land of seeking for external validation. And it's very important to come home to yourself, to really just accept your accent, the way you look, the way you show up in the world. And I tell you, it's very healing and therapeutic once you start on that journey of embracing who you're becoming as this third culture person.
Yeah. Decoding. Can you center it a bit more? Yes, there you go. Nice. I like your cover there. As by appealing to my visual arts side. Nice. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your journey again and your work. And I hope that we get the right people listening to this that can actually have the time. I say have the time because I'm always interested to help, but I have to hold myself back because I'm also super busy. And I'm the editor and the promoter and everything right now. So unfortunately, I can't join your team, but I do hope that we can find the right person to help you with this, because I think it's important work. And especially, as I said, now with more people becoming immigrants and yeah, I think even
Refugees and
refugees. Yeah,
exiles,
right.
name it.
Yeah, yeah, and with the trends that we're seeing politically, I think it's more and more important to have these spaces where we can find each other and share these experiences with each other and build community. I think this is a good case study for community building and how you can use podcasting and the internet to find your tribe, so to say, in this case.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mention about how your study of international development management and the different changes that are happening around the world and how they're forcing international movements of people. I think that's an interesting topic. I don't know if you've covered it on your podcast, but I'd be love to hear more about that. But I'm intrigued
Yeah.
about your own personal story. Are you from Aruba or Bonaire?
From
or,
Bonaire. Bonaire, yes.
and where did you went to the Netherlands for some time to
Yeah.
study, or your family's there?
No, I went there to study. I'd say 2010, I moved there. And I studied tourism, which is not really what I wanted to study. It's one of these, like, you're expected to be a doctor. I guess here in the Caribbean, we're expected to go into tourism because that's what makes the money. So yeah, I was kind of massaged into going to study for tourism after I said I wanted to be an artist or do something creative. So I did that, and afterwards I thought I always have like a spirit to be an entrepreneur. I knew I didn't really want to work for a boss in that sense, like a 9 to 5 thing. So I decided to study business, which I did a year of, and that was too economic for me. I do obviously care about the social and environmental aspect of things as well. So I could never be like, okay, let's deplete all of the resources on Earth just for money kind of thing, which was literally said by one of the teachers there, which kind of triggered me to look for another studies, and that's how I came across international development management, and I thought that was a better fit for me, and I went into that. I did get, once you kind of go in idealistically. I think a lot of people that choose that study are very idealistic, and you see us from miles away, it's like the hippie looking kind of student. Save the world, we are the world kind of thing. But you go in and you really start hearing about the issues, and okay, you want to go to whatever village in a country in Africa and help them with hunger, but then there's these powers that be, and there's if you want to mess with the cacao sector, there's these powers that be. So you're learning about, okay, you want to make change, but these are the things you have to keep in mind, that there are certain, the word that I'm looking for is like interest, like of powerful corporations or countries or whatever be it, or the people may not want that change. So you just keep getting hit after hit after hit. So I was depressed by the third year of my studies, because you realize, yes, you might want to see a better world, but there are legitimate things working against you as well to reach that, and that's when I could choose a minor, and I did my minor in creativity and art, and that was the happiest 6 months of my academic life. because I just got to make art.
Career,
And
it's called career alignment.
yes.
Alignment with your
Yeah.
values, your internal truth, with who you are. It just feels like bliss, right? And
Yes.
I know some people might say, "Where's the money in that?" But
Mm-hmm.
listen, money isn't everything. You have doctors who are miserable and are taking
Right.
their lives,
Yeah,
engineers
yeah.
and lawyers who are like bending over on the work and are not happy. And they did it because maybe their
Mm-hmm.
parents or immigrant parents pushed them, or they did it because for the money. But what's the point if you're just going to be
Right.
here to make money and you can't take any of it with you when you leave?
Yeah,
And you can't
exactly.
enjoy it while you're here. So, but
Mm-hmm.
any case, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt.
yeah.
I mean,
No,
I
it's
just wanted
okay.
to say that is
Yeah.
you're telling the story of career alignment. Yes.
Hmm. And then when I finished, and I told you earlier about that moment that after my studies that I thought, well, now I'm just going to be an artist. It started to eat at me that I had all of this knowledge of how to bring change, and I was just going to sit and paint the whole day. I couldn't do that either. Um, so that's where I went back to, and it's interesting that during um, my minor, I started asking myself, well, how can I combine the two? How can I be an artist and also be someone that facilitates change? Um, and I've been asking myself that question ever since, and it's developed into my my business, and I like doing the two different podcasts where we're looking at personal growth, but also I call it inner world and outer world, right? Like you have to develop both if we really want change. But I'm also doing things like helping people publish books, as long as it's like in within my niche of what I call holistic development. So I also get to do this creative thing. So I think the real alignment for me is that I cannot do one or the other. I have to find a way to do all of the things. I can't do all of the things at once, but I can have little projects. Like I'm doing a project where we're looking at food resilience on the island. And we're gonna do a campaign, like a media campaign. So it's weaving. Sometimes it's a bit more creative, sometimes it's a bit more development, but it's starting to really align from that moment where I decided, okay, I have to find a way to combine both because otherwise, yeah, I can't. I won't be happy just doing the one or the other. So yeah, that's
Right.
what I'm doing.
Yes, that's your
Yeah.
calling. You're listening to the calling of your soul, like what you were here to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes our well-meaning parents, they think they know the best for us and they're here as guides. But I think
Yeah.
we have to get we have to get in connection with our internal voice, and the more we listen, the more louder and powerful it gets, and the more we're self-directed. And I hope I can allow our little one to be able to find and to keep that voice, right?
Yeah.
And that it doesn't get dimmer and dimmer, but that it doesn't leave her as she grows up. I think it's as they call it, conscious parenting, where you're just in
Hmm.
tune with your child and allow her to really follow that. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
you pushed through despite all the other people and what they were saying, and
Yeah.
you're finding the right balance for you where you can find joy, and you're a better period. People probably experience you as more joyful, more connected,
Hmm.
more purposefully, right? And so that's important because I've been in places where I'm just working out of just
Yeah.
being a responsible thing because it's the good thing to do, but you're so disconnected and unhappy, and
Yeah.
I'm finding my joy again with this project that I started. So
Yeah. Yeah. Again. I'll keep saying it's important work, and I can see the excitement also floating from you. So yeah, I think it definitely. I was happy that you contacted me to talk about it, and I'm happy to share this with the audience. And who knows, maybe we decide to do another podcast at some point together.
Yeah, let's keep talking. There's a lot to explore. I did
Yeah.
a minor in international development myself. And having been born in Jamaica and part of my life there and my international travels and being in this space, there's a lot to talk about, like what you
Yeah.
observe and how policies impact countries and smaller developing countries and how yeah, so lots of conversation around that, but we can keep
Yeah.
exploring that, and maybe there's another way to collaborate. I'd love to share this as well to my audience and let people know the work that you're doing as well, so be sure to, we'll continue the conversation and making sure we get this out to both of our audiences.
You lagged a little bit at the end there. Just
Oh, okay.
can you
Right. So I
repeat?
was just saying there's many areas, there are possible other areas of collaboration. And so we'll keep the conversation going, and I'll be happy to share it with my audience, and to get the word out about what work you're doing as well. It was a pleasure joining you and having such a pleasant conversation and learning about you and where you're from and your immigrant experience, and the influence that you're creating in the world. So let's keep the conversation going. I love meeting people
Yes.
like you.
Thank you so much, Simone. It was nice meeting you too and talking to you. And we overcame a lot of difficulties, but we got it. So let me say bye. Until next time on the Creation Podcast. Bye bye. Oh, and then I can't find the mouse.
So you're gonna stop recording.